Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1106A, and today's date is October 20th, 2016, and the title of the episode is The Entire Economy is at a Tipping Point. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. We are at that point where we're at a tipping point, where we're on the cusp of collapsing. And we can see that around the world, the debt level is so high that countries are collapsing right now. I know the corporate media is really not reporting on any of this. I know people don't really talk about this. But when we look around the world, we see France, we see Greece, we see Spain, Italy, Germany. We're seeing countries slide into a recession. Other countries are collapsing right in front of our eyes. And when we look at Greece, for instance, we can see that Greece has many bailouts from the central banks where they gave them more and more debt. And it has taken a toll on people, it has taken a toll on businesses in Greece, has taken a toll on the country itself. And right now, the self-employed in Greece, they have very high taxes, very high Social Security contributions each year. And many in Greece are looking at this and saying, there's no reason to keep our business inside of Greece anymore. And they're moving their businesses to Bulgaria because their taxes are at 10%. Instead of 29%. Social Security contributions are very low. And as of right now, there are 60,000 businesses that have moved out of Greece. And this is what happens when you raise the taxes, when you put these rules into place where businesses, people cannot meet them. It's an impossible situation. And what happens is the company eventually, or the person eventually decides enough is enough. Those people who are getting hit with FATCA in the United States, well, they say, you know what? I'm not going to be a citizen of the United States because it's just too much. Corporations, businesses that are in the United States and being taxed heavily, they move out of the United States to find cheaper labor, less taxes. This is why manufacturing is completely gone here in the United States. This is why a lot of businesses have closed. This is why the economy is stalling right now. And what we're seeing is people, well, they don't have jobs. I know the U.S. government central bankers, they manipulate a lot of the numbers to make us believe that everything is fine. And believe me, there's a lot of people that do believe that the economy is doing well. Because all they have to do is manipulate the stock market, manipulate unemployment, manipulate initial jobless claims, manipulate GDP, and people will believe whatever the government tells them, that the economy is doing well. We have recovered fully. We're on the right track. And people go along with this. But what we're seeing lately is the manipulated numbers, well, they're not working in many cases. For example, initial jobless claims, they've jumped over 5%. This is the biggest weekly rise since May. And what we're seeing right now is that as more and more people lose their jobs, this number is getting very difficult to keep down in the range where everyone says everyone has a job and no one's applying for unemployment. And eventually what's going to happen, it's going to break out. Because, again, it doesn't make sense. And we know that the people around the country, there's definitely something not right about the economy, because we see consumer confidence is unchanged since 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, unemployment was what, 10%? Now we're at 5%. It's half. So why wouldn't people think that things are getting better? Because, the president tells us that we're completely recovered. If you don't believe me, you're peddling fiction. But we can see from the real economic data, from the real information that we look at, the economy is actually in a recession right now. It has not improved whatsoever. Yes, when you take people and you throw them off the unemployment numbers and you say, yeah, those couple 100 million people, they don't want jobs. We just won't count them. Look, our unemployment's 5%, 4.9%. It's going lower and lower. When you take GDP and you try to manipulate it as best you can, throw in health insurance, make those premiums go up, show people that are, that everyone is spending, the whole thing's fake. Because health insurance does not contribute to, really, GDP doesn't contribute to anything here. Raising the premiums doesn't show that people are spending more money. It just shows they have to pay more money for health insurance. And we can see right now that we have so many bubbles around the country, around the world. They're all getting ready to pop. And we see that home sales, they're declining. New home sales, declining. And the corporate media today is making a really big deal that existing home sales have surged. We're back on track. Well, no, we're not. Because think about what happened here. Existing home sales went from 5.6 all the way down to 5.3. And then moved back up to 5.47. So existing homes are not surging anywhere. We're back to the same level as we were back in June of 2015. And we've just been bouncing around. Existing home sales are not surging. They're stagnant. They're not going anywhere. So what we're seeing right now is that this is the third month in a row that sales of previously owned homes are flat year over year. So when we look at the economy altogether, we see that the manipulated numbers are trying to show everyone that we're in a recovery. If you take away the manipulation and you add all those people back for unemployment, if you get rid of health insurance with the premiums skyrocketing and you take that out of GDP, we have GDP in the negative range. If you add those people back in who don't have a job, all of a sudden unemployment, and you use the calculation back in the early 90s, we see unemployment is at like 20-25%. The manipulation manipulated the way we view the economy. The economy is still deteriorating. And they can't stop it. This is the biggest problem. They can pretend, they can keep the illusion alive, but they cannot stop the underlying problem of the economy. People are out of work. We have no manufacturing. The debt level is way too high. It cannot be sustained. The interest rates are close to zero. Around the world, they're in the negative range. The Fed has trillions of toxic real estate and treasury bonds on its books. They are continually creating currency out of thin air. Corporate defaults are on the rise. Delinquencies are on the rise. Auto sales are declining. Think about what is happening right now. Industrial production is declining. It's signaling a recession. All of this is happening all at once. So what you have is the real economic indicators, and then you have their illusion. And their illusion is not working anymore. This is why consumer confidence is declining, because people realize there's something wrong. We see that the ECB is out there, and they are saying they have no evidence whatsoever of any bubbles forming anywhere. Nothing. Actually, the Federal Reserve has said the same exact thing. There are no bubbles. Actually, if I remember correctly, back in 2008, they told us everything was fine. There were no bubbles. Everything was contained. The subprime was contained. Everything was fine. And with the subprime back in 2008, hundreds of millions of people, the government, the central bankers, they kept the illusion alive that the economy was doing well. They didn't even give any type of indication that something was wrong. There were a few who said there's something wrong, who were out there trying to get the word out that this real estate market's going to come tumbling down. Actually, people even made bets. They shorted the market. People laughed at them. You're crazy. I'm going to go with the 100 million people, the government, and the central bank because I believe them. Those people couldn't be woken up. No matter what you have done at that point, they would have still believed the government. They would have still believed the corporate media. They would have still believed the central bank. No one would believe the few that said the economy is failing. Today we have the same thing. The few are out there saying there's something wrong. We've been tracking, we've been following, we've been looking at this economy. We're in a recession. But the hundreds of millions of people, they believe the government. They believe everything they say. They believe the central bank. They believe the corporate media. They believe up to the point when the entire system is collapsing. And then they will continually believe that the government will then rescue them from the collapse that they created. And guess what? The government never rescues anybody. They rescue their banks. They rescue their friends. They rescue the elite. They mold the system and manipulate the system to bring in more funds to themselves. So we're at a tipping point right now where this entire system is about to implode. And guess what? There's hundreds of millions of people. You can try to convince them. They cannot be woken up right now. They've been brainwashed with the propaganda, and the few are sitting here ready and prepared for what is coming. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.